Hello, friends. In the last couple of sessions on economics, we are focusing our study on the economy of our country, India. We did a profile study of the economy of the country, its large population, problems faced by our country like poverty and unemployment, etc. And in today's session, we will go through the infrastructure that our country has developed after independence. By infrastructure, we mean the physical and the organizational structures that are required by our economy or our society to be functional. So, we will first begin with the energy sector of our infrastructure. Energy has been universally recognized as one of the most important inputs for economic growth and human development. There is a two-way relationship between economic development and the energy consumption. On one hand, the growth of an economy with its global competitiveness hinges on the availability of cost effective and environmentally benign energy sources. And on the other hand, the level of economic development has been observed to be reliant on the energy demand of the economy. The sources of energy can be classified into non commercial or traditional sources, commercial sources, and primary sources and final sources. The non-commercial or traditional sources of energy include fuel such as wood, crop residue, and animal waste as well as human and animal power. The levels of efficiency at which useful energy is presently being realized from these non-commercial or traditional resources are very low, varying between 10 to 15%. In the field of commercial sources of energy, the second type of energy sources, our country has been taking major strides in stepping up the production of commercial energy, as is shown in the table given here. This table shows the amount of energy obtained in various years from various commercial sources such as coal, lignite, crude oil, natural gas, hydropower, and nuclear power. In case of coal as the energy source, the unit of energy in which it is expressed is million tons, and we can see that in year 1950 to 51, 33 million tons of energy was produced from coal. In the year 60 to 61, 55.67 units of energy. In 70-71, 72.95 units. In 1980 to 81, 114.01 units, and in 1990 to 91, 211.73 units of energy was produced from coal. In the same units used for energy measurement in case of lignite, we can see that in the year 1960 to 61, 0.05 units of energy was produced from lignite, 3.39 units in the year 70 to 71, 44.8 units in the year 1980 to 81, and 14.07 units of energy in the year 1990-91 was produced from lignite. Using the same unit of measurement for crude oil, 0.26 units in the year 1950 to 51, 0.45 units in the year 1960 to 61, 6.82 units in 1970 to 71, 10.51 units in the year 1980 to 81, and 33.02 units in the year 1990 to 91 have been produced by using crude oil as the energy source. In case of lignite, we saw that there is an increase in the energy production from it, but then it decreased in 1991. Whereas in the case of crude oil, we can see that there is a constant increase in the energy produced from this source. The unit of measurement for energy produced from natural gas is MCM. The production from natural gas started in the year 1970 to 71. 1445 units of energy were produced in the year 70-71. 2358 2,358 units in the year 1980-81, and 17,998 units in the year 1990-91 were produced from natural gas. The unit of measurement used in case of hydropower is billion kilowatt hours. So the energy production from this source has also been on an increase. 2.52 units in the year 1950-51, 7.84 units in 60-61, 25.25 units in the year 1970-71, 46.54 units in 1980-81, and 71.54 units in the year 1990-91 have been produced from hydropower. Energy production from nuclear power started pretty late as compared to other sources except natural gas. We can see that the same unit of measurement, billion kilowatts hours, have been used for energy produced from nuclear power as well. So 2.42 units in the year 1970-71, 3 units in 1980-81, and 6.24 units in 1990-91 have been produced from nuclear power. We can see that this source of energy hasn't been utilized to its full potential yet. Regarding the sources of electricity and electricity generation by them, there are 5 major sources of electricity: water, coal, oil, gas, and radioactive elements. The table given here shows the present capacity of the various sources and the power generation by them. Electricity produced by water is known as hydroelectricity. Its present capacity is 22.5% and it generates 14.5% of the power in our country. The electricity produced by coal, oil, and gas is known as thermal electricity. Its present capacity is 62% and it generates 72.5% of the power. The electricity produced by the radioactive elements comes under the category of atomic energy. Its present capacity is 2.5% and it generates 2.5% of the power. Some other sources also have some minor contribution in the power generation. There are various problems faced related to energy, such as the demand and supply imbalances in the commercial fuels. There is a gap between the demand and the supply of energy. For example, the demand of coal was 338 tons in the year 2005-2006 for energy generation, but the supply of coal was 316.66 million tons. Thus, there is a clear gap of 21.34 million tons in the supply of coal from the domestic sources. The second problem faced is the inflationary pressure on the oil prices. Since the year 1973, the oil prices have been rising in the international market. During the time period from 1973 to 2006, the Organization of Petrol of Exporting Countries, known as OPEC in brief, has increased the prices more than 4 times. Therefore, rising oil prices have led to the rising general prices in India. Another energy-related problem which is frequently faced is the rise in the oil imports. Since the year 1973, India's oil imports have increased substantially. In the year 1973-74, India's oil imports bill was rupees 1100 crores. It increased to rupees 1,94,640 crores in the year 2005-2006. Petroleum, oil, and lubricant constitute around 1/3 of our import of oil. Another important problem faced in the energy sector is the transmission and distribution losses. The national average of this loss is around 23%. Also, most of the state electricity boards are also working inefficiently. The third type of energy sources classification is the primary energy resources and final energy resources. So, to understand this classification, let us take an example. When coal is consumed for generating electricity, that is again consumed by the industry as an energy source, the coal is considered as the primary energy resource, and the electricity produced, which is again used further in the industry as energy source, is the final energy source. So, coal, petroleum products, and natural gas are both primary resources as well as final resources, as they are consumed directly as well as indirectly in the industry or somewhere else as an energy resource. Now, electricity is only final resource of energy. Let us go through some of the details about electricity, which is an important source of energy. The total installed capacity of generating power of our country was around 2,300 megawatts in the year 1950-51, which rose to 1,43,800 megawatts in the year 2005-2006. So in the last 55 years, there has been more than 60 times increase in the installed capacity with an increase of 4,000 to 5,000 megawatts every year. Electricity is generated by a number of organizations of the central government, state government, as well as private sector. The electricity generating organizations managed by the central government are National Thermal Power Corporation, denoted as NTPC in brief, National Hydroelectric Power Corporation, that is NHPC, and Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, that is NPCIL. The electricity generating organizations of the state government are the state electricity boards or SEBs. Number of private players are also actively participating in this sector like Adani, Reliance Group, etc. Another important sector in the infrastructure is transportation. The present transport system of the country comprises several modes of transport, including rail, road, coastal shipping, air transport, etc. Transport has recorded a substantial growth over the years, both in spread of the network and in the output of the system. An important component in the transportation sector is railways. Indian railways have grown into a vast network of 6,909 stations spread over a route length of 63,327 kilometers with a fleet of 8,153 locomotives, 45,350 passenger service vehicles, 5,905 other coaching vehicles, and 2,07,719 wagons as on 31st March 2007. The whole network has been divided into 16 zones. The railways in India provide the principal mode of transportation for freight as well as passengers. From a very modest beginning in the year 1853, the first train steamed off from Mumbai to Thane, covering a distance of 34 kilometers. About 28% of the route, 39% of the running track, and 41% of the total track is electrified. Railways planning has been to develop the transport infrastructure to carry the projected quantum of traffic and meet the developmental needs of the economy. Since the inception of the planned era in the year 1950-51, Indian Railways has implemented 9 5-year plans, apart from the annual plans in some years. During the plans, emphasis was laid on a comprehensive program of system modernization. With the capacity being stretched to the full, investment of cost-effective technological changes become inescapable in order to meet the ever-increasing demand for rail transport, along with the major thrust directed towards rehabilitation of assets, technological changes and upgradation of standards were initiated in important areas of tracks, locomotives, passenger coaches, wagon bogie designs, signaling, and telecommunication.